to my channel. Today is a very special video. So I asked you guys on Instagram what vibes, spooky vibes, any kind of vibes are you looking for? And you guys delivered. I had several people drop a comment what they were looking for. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to recommend some books. Some of the categories I may have multiple books just because I couldn't contain myself, but I will recommend the books that I think kind of goes with what you're looking for, and then I'll also shout you out as well. So woohoo for shout outs. But anyway, thank you so much to all my Bookstagram followers for making this possible, and let's get going. Our first vibe was the Nightmare Before Christmas vibe. Long Live the Pumpkin Queen, and cute spooky stories are my jam. So unfortunately I could not personally find any like the Nightmare Before Christmas vibe-esque stories or books, but I went with the last part. The cute spooky stories are my jam. And this was asked by @Tiff's Book Journey, and I will put the name somewhere around here. So @Tiff's Book Journey, the book that I am going to recommend to you, drumroll please, is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. So you're not a huge fan of the spooky, and I get that. So this is not very spooky. It's a great Halloween read though, because it deals with death and the Grim Reaper kinda, and it's a lot of fun. But this book follows a man, and he was kind of like a snob, and then he dies. So then he gets like another chance at life through death. And it's just a really cool book. He gets to go and like stay at like this little death spot, and he gets to make friends with a whole bunch of people, like dead people or not so dead people. It's been a little while since I read it, but it's just a super cute book, and TJ Klune always makes me smile, and this book had some laugh out loud moments, but it does have those underlying spooky vibes, but it's not scary. It's spooky-ish, but not scary. So this is what I recommend to you @Tiff's Book Journey. So next up we have monsters, vampire, werewolves, and I want to add an oh my to the mix, but so basically some creatures. So here are a couple stories that I went with, like creatures. So I actually chose like 3 books just because I could not control myself. Book number 1 is a book that is not out yet, but it will be coming out very soon, and by very soon I mean next Tuesday, and that is Nestlings by Nat Cassidy. This book was fantastic. I read it as an ARC, and it is about this couple who lives in New York City, and they are given the opportunity to move into this elite apartment building. Like they won like a lottery basically on it that they had entered a long time ago. Seems too good to be true, doesn't it? It is. So the story focuses on a couple. The husband has a job, and the wife has unfortunately not been able to work ever since she had her child because she became paralyzed when giving birth, and it's a very rare thing, but it can happen. So this new apartment is on the very top floor. So at first she's like, I don't know how to feel about this. What happens if there's an emergency, if there's a fire? But they make it work, so they decide to move in, and they have a little baby. But once they're there, strange things starts happening, especially to the baby. And it just is creepy. It's a original take on vampires. I really liked it. It's like Salem's Lot mixed with Rosemary's Baby. So if you vibe with any of those, it's a great one. I just realized I forgot to shout out who requested the monsters, vampires, yada yada. And that is The Squidling. So The Squidling. And I'll put the name around here somewhere again. So thank you @The Squidling. I'm glad I can give you some spooky vibes. So for werewolves, I actually have not read too many werewolf stories. So I went with Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison. This book is a great werewolf story. It's about a woman who goes back home to help her sister. And while she's there, she gets attacked by a wild animal, and then things are starting to change with her. And I really like how it played on the sibling dynamic. It's just really sister focused, and I love that. And I also love how she's reacting to her changes. It's a great story. So read that one. It's not overly spooky. It's like comfort horror almost, and I like me some comfort horror. So that did monsters, or that did vampires and werewolves, and then I kind of did monsters. So I'm actually reading this one right now, and I've tried to stick with books that I've read for my suggestions. A lot of times I will give books I haven't read if they fit the vibe, but for this video, just so I could talk about these things, I wanted to go with books that I have personally read. So I'm halfway through this one right now, and I'm really enjoying it. And it is Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. And this book is about evil killer mermaids / sirens, and it's really cool. I'm finally getting to the part where people are starting to get ganked by these mermaids, and I'm enjoying it a whole lot. Yeah, it's creepy. Like, these mermaids aren't your typical mermaids. They'll mess you up. All right, the next request was a possessed object, and that is by Christine.cozy.corner. Again, I'll put that up somewhere. So the book that I chose for Possessed Object was Silver Nitrate by Sylvia Morano Garcia. This book is about a haunted, cursed film reel, and our main character tries to finish the film reel after she meets with like a cult film director. But things backfire and she starts being followed. Weird things are happening to her best friend. There's like ghost in his life now. And it's just a wild ride. And I really like all the horror references. It takes place in Mexico City in like the 90s. And it was just a lot of fun. I liked getting to see behind the scenes of Mexico's like film industry. So it was really cool there. And then, you know, Nazi silver nitrate film, tons of necromancy and all that. It was a blast to read. This author does such a great job at writing her characters, and I really enjoyed this book. Next up, we have mixed media / multimedia horror, and I chose 2 books for this one. The vibes were requested by Palettes and Pages, and so I chose 2 books for this one. So the first book that I chose is a book that I've talked about a lot on here, so I won't spend too much time on it, but it is Night Film by Marisha Pessl. This book is about a very famous cult director's daughter committing suicide, and we have our journalist, who's our main protagonist, investigating this. And the book is full of multimedia. It's full of like newspaper articles, it's full of obituaries, it's full of like web pages. So this book is a perfect example of multimedia blended into a book. And again, I won't talk too much about it, so I'll move on. I also chose a newer book to me, and this is Burn the Negative by Josh Winning. This book features like Hollywood articles. It features like website articles all about the cursed film that is in this book. So this book follows a former child actor or actress, and the last movie that she was in, every single person almost in this movie died, and their deaths mirrored their on-screen deaths that took place in the horror movie. So our main character got out of acting, she changed her name, identity, moved to another country basically, but now they're remaking the film and she has to go report on it because she became a journalist, and things get crazy from there. The second she gets back into Hollywood, crap hits the fan. So, but yeah, this book is a lot of fun. It's full of multimedia. For the beginning of every chapter, there is something multimedia included. Our next request is horror with humor, like Grady Hendrix. And this was requested by Read by Reagan. So I chose 2 books for this one just because I couldn't control myself. And the first one I chose was The September House by Carissa Orlando. This book is a great example of blending horror and humor in the best way possible. It's about a woman who knows that her house is haunted and she ain't leaving. She does not care that the walls bleed every September, that there are ghosts that live in her house and that talk to her. She doesn't care about the creepy man in the basement as long as she keeps him locked away. So this book is just a blast. There were moments that had me laughing, and then there's also moments that had me scared out of my wits, and also moments that almost had me tearing up. It's just a great blend of everything in this book, and I really liked how it was delivered. Another book is The Twisted Ones by T. Kingfisher. This book is about a woman named Mouse, and her grandma just died and she was a hoarder. So she takes her dog, Bongo, and they travel up to this house, and they are going to clean it up and resell this house. But while she is there, crazy things are happening. She's taking this dog for a walk, and there are weird things by. There's like weird statues and stones, and they're telling her to twist herself about like the twisted ones. And she finds a journal, and it's like her grandma or her grandpa's journal, and it's just describing how crazy things are happening. Then there's weird effigies hanging up. This book is just a wild ride, but it's funny as well. Like, the dog is a goofball named Bongo, which I love that. And there's just tons of moments that I laughed out loud. But then there's also moments where I was hanging on by the edge of my sheet. Hanging by the edge of my seat. So really recommend any T. Kingfisher for a good laugh and also a good scare. What's next? Good for her. You look happy and healthy, not me if you ever get it. Alright, so next request was Good for Her, and this was requested by Manic.Mouse. I will also say that Manic.Mouse also requested werewolves, which I covered in the monsters request, so check out Such Sharp Teeth, Manic.Mouse. But for Good for Her, I have 2 books. The first one is one that I've read, I think it was about 2 years ago. It was not my all-time favorite book, but it does have a whole Good for Her vibe. And I did enjoy it overall. It had like a plot twist in the middle that had me like my jaw on the floor. So I still recommend it. I will always recommend books that I personally did not like if I think it fits the vibe of somebody else, because I know reading is so subjective. So I'm never going to penalize that I didn't like it when you might like it. They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. And this book is about a woman. She is a professor by day and also a serial killer by night. So she will serial kill, that's totally an adverb or a verb. She will kill men who have wronged women. So like whether it's by sexual assault, rape, so definitely trigger warnings there. But she will kill them in the most inconspicuous way. She doesn't have to use a knife all the time. She can poison their Gatorade if they're working out. So anyway, the book opens up with her like murdering somebody and then going to work afterwards, and it's like, dang girl, good for you. So really, really cool book. I will say it jumps between 2 different points of view. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that. It's pretty cool. Like, one of them's a college girl and the other one is our professor. So maybe they will mingle. We shall see. The other book is Stephen King's Carrie. When I think of Good for Her, it's like Carrie. Like, I mean, everybody had it coming except, you know, the people who were actually nice to her, but that was very rare. But if you don't know what Carrie's about, it's about a girl who's tormented in high school, and then a boy who's already somebody's boyfriend, but the girlfriend makes him take her, decides to ask her to prom, and she goes to prom, and crap gets real because somebody dumps pig's blood on her, and she goes telekinesis mode, and kills a whole lot of people. So I don't think that's a spoiler. Carrie's been out for a long time, and if you even haven't read the book, you've probably seen the movie. But Carrie is such a Good for Her vibe. And then also, like, along those lines, The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson is like a Carrie retelling. So obviously that book kind of goes hand in hand with this book. So the next request we had was Haunted Houses and or Ghost Hunters, and that was requested by Lindsay.Breeze. So I did 3 books for this category because I could not control myself, and 2 of them are kind of like haunted houses. One of them is kind of haunted place, and Ghost Hunters going to investigate it. The first book is a haunted house, and it is Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. And I've talked about this some on my channel, so I won't rant for too long. But this book is about a woman, and she goes back home to take care of her mother and kind of fix up the house. And her father was a former serial killer, and the house is haunted. And that's all you need to know. It's just a blast, and creepy things happen. Oh, sorry. The other haunted house is kind of like a psychological haunted house. Like, it messes with your brain a lot, and it's like, is it actually haunted? Is it not? The world may never know. But it is The Grip of It by Jack Jamek, or Jamek, whatever you want to call his name. I want to call it J-Mac, but he doesn't have an A in there, so Jamek. And this book is about a couple needs a fresh start. They move to a new house, and like, even on the first day, some weird stuff starts happening, and it starts messing with their mind. The wife's getting bruises on her, kind of like the Amityville Horror, and the husband's seeing things out in the yard. And this book messes with your mind because even when they leave the house, the thing follows them and it puts like graffiti on the wall, like written in blood. So I like that trope, like where even if you leave the house, it's still gonna get you. So yeah, it definitely takes a toll on our characters, and this book was a wild ride. And then The Haunted Place / like Ghost Hunters is episode 13. This book is good. I personally did not enjoy the whole thing, but it had some genuinely scary moments. It deals with a team of ghost hunters who have their own show, and they decide to go investigate like a haunted place that used to be like an insane asylum or like an experimental facility, I think. So there's tons of ghosts here, and some crazy stuff starts happening. They get it on footage, and don't go into the basement. That's all I can say. Also, that one is told like found footage style. I meant to say that. So that was pretty cool. And the very last request we have is gothic horror. And this was requested by Robert_Ciuca. It's Ciuca. So I'll put it up there. Sorry if I pronounced your username wrong. I'm so sorry. So I chose 2 books for this one. The first one is a classic, and it's The Shining. It's a great gothic horror book, isolated area, supernatural things going on, and a family slowly dropping into insanity. Shining is just a great book, and also equally great movie. I love how they're different in each way, and I just love them. It's just a classic, and it's a classic for a reason. And then the other recommendation I have is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Morano Garcia. And this book is about a woman who goes to check out her cousin. Her cousin sent her like a distress letter in the mail. And so she goes to investigate, but finds a very weird family that her sister is staying with. And there's just mushrooms all around and spores all around, and it's a mushroom horror, and it was really good. It was creepy. It wasn't my all-time favorite book in the world, but I can still see why people absolutely love it, because I mean, I did like it, and it is creepy. There are some genuinely creepy moments in this book, so if you haven't checked this one out, you totally should. So thank you so much for watching my recommendation video. I'll try to do this again sometime in the future. I love giving out spooky book vibes to everybody. So I really had a lot of fun with this. Thank you so much for watching. And if you don't already, go follow me on Instagram at PagesandAsh so you can stay in the loop with more content. And also don't forget to like, subscribe, and also comment if you can. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.